Hey everybody, Jerry Williams, aka Greater Sapien here. Thanks for stopping by. We are just a few days away from the season 1 finale of Daredevil Born Again, but I haven't done a video on the series since episode 3, so we have some catching up to do. Episode 3 ended with the vigilante White Tiger being murdered by someone dressed as the Punisher. Now we know it wasn't the Punisher because we're not naive, and the assassin was wearing a completely different style of body armor than what the Punisher would normally use. We figure it's one of the crooked cops that we know have Punisher tattoos. The White Tiger's daughter knows it was the cops that killed her dad, and so does Murdock, but he still has to give the old let the system do what it does song and dance for her. Fisk and his wife Vanessa are in marriage counseling, and he confesses to Vanessa that he's confronted her lover Adam and doesn't go any further than that. The Kingpin is showing some difficulty dealing with the bureaucracy that comes with being mayor. He's used to being able to just say things and have people do them, but there's always some system in place that's thwarting his ability to build the thing that he wants to build. And there's this pomp and circumstance that he really just doesn't want to have to deal with. Since the police didn't do a very good job investigating the shooting of the White Tiger, Murdock goes to the scene and finds the bullet casing from the weapon that killed the White Tiger. On that bullet casing, there's a Punisher logo embossed on it for some reason, so that compels Murdock to go to Frank Castle's hideout and talk to him. He's trying to recruit Castle into helping him figure out what's going on with the copycat Punisher people. Castle doesn't want to have anything to do with it. He's dealing with his war.
So you tell me, what's going on, buddy? What are you doing down here? Day after day, just hiding out?
I ain't hiding from shit. You walked in that door.
Plotting your next
right
kill?
here. You goddamn right.
Great, how's that working?
You want to go out there on the street, have at it. But I do not have time for your candy-ass hero shit.
It's a great scene between Murdock and Castle, where Castle, in a twisted way, is playing Murdock's conscience. Say what you will about Frank Castle, but he can read people, and he reads Matt Murdock very well. He knows Murdock wants to go back out there and beat on people.
I don't think you came here for my help. See, I think you want my permission. You want to get your hands on somebody, huh? You want to hurt him?
Castle calls him out on his suppressed guilt for the death of Foggy Nelson.
You come at me with that horse shit about saving lives. How about that friend of yours? You saved his life. You lost him, didn't you, Red?
It's not about him.
Then say his name.
It's not about him. It's not about him.
Ah, for Christ's sake, say his name.
Say his name, you coward. Say his name. It's not about him.
You hate yourself.
He's eating you up because you ain't done a goddamn thing about it.
God damn it, God damn you. Sorry. I apologize.
What are you sorry for? First honest thing you did, Red.
Now, from time to time, I feel a little disappointed that there hasn't been as much action in this series as I would like. But then they pull scenes like this, which really drives the character of this show, and it's great. It makes up for the missing action, in my point of view. And I find it very interesting. I don't know why this was said, but before the series started, the showrunner for the series made some statements about the original series and how this series would be different. Scartapane, I think his name was, insisted that Daredevil Born Again will have, quote, more fun in the moments with these characters and a lot less navel-gazing than before. He goes on to say that the quote, the earlier show at its best was fantastic. At its worst, it was two characters in a room talking about what a hero is, end quote. Yet, we seem to be getting a lot of that in this series, and I don't have any problem with that whatsoever. It's a strength of this show. The episode ends with both Matt Murdock and Wilson Fisk showing that they still give in a bit to their darker urges as Murdock goes upon the roof to train, to stay in shape for the war. And Fisk goes down to his basement where he has Vanessa's former lover Adam locked in a cage. Meanwhile, the killer artist Muse has claimed another victim for his artwork. Episode 5 is a bottle episode where we see Matt Murdock break up a heist at a bank run by Yusuf Khan, the father of Kamala Khan, aka Miss Marvel. This episode is the biggest, most obvious nod to the greater MCU that this show has done. It is generally in a much lighter tone than the rest of the episodes, but not so much that it's a bad episode. I believe that I read that somewhere that this is the one episode that was most completely untouched from its original filming, even though the rest of the series was retooled more. Episode 6 leaned heavily on the Wilson Fisk storyline, though the Daredevil storyline pulled its own weight in its own way. Fisk is dealing with a few things going on. He's trying to get bigwigs in the city to back his agenda so he can get his waterfront program going. He's really not used to having people talk to him the way that in a way that shows that they're not afraid of him. Since he's mayor, he kind of expects people to bow to his will like they did when he was the kingpin of crime. But these wealthy donors don't really see him as a powerful person compared to them.
You may have a seat at the table right now. For a couple of years anyway. But the people in this room still decide who gets to eat. I suggest you don't lose sight of that.
He's dealing with Vanessa and her negotiating the politics of the criminal element that he's still involved with. And then there's the discovery that the serial killer Muse that causes Fisk to deputize a special task force to hunt down the serial killer. But Daredevil finds Muse first. Donning the costume for the first time in a year, he goes into the sewers to hunt him down. Here we get a pretty good fight scene. The serial killer seems to have some moves. He's not just some stabby guy. Now, I can't remember Muse from the comics that well. I don't think he had any superior strength or anything like that, but I do remember that he was invisible to Matt Murdock's radar sense, which made a more difficult capture. But here he's just a psychotic killer with some fight skills, and that's okay. But Murdock is not the only one who returns to his old form, as Fisk goes down into his basement to play with his toy. He gives Vanessa's ex-lover an axe, so he would have a weapon, and then he proceeds to beat the crap out of him. As much as Murdock and Fisk like to tell people they've changed, the violence is in their nature. We get this nice back and forth of scenes between both Fisk and Daredevil displaying their primal nature in their battles. Muse gets away as Daredevil has to save the young victim's life. The next episode, episode 7, everything escalates. With Fisk learning of Daredevil's return, he's even more frustrated with the constant undermining of his power. There's a great scene early in the episode that's a great example of a villain who thinks he's the hero of the story.
For the sake of the city. Ha! Talking about a man who single-handedly destroyed 10 years of business infrastructure. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
How? 10 years I built that operation. It was totally fail-proof. He went on a rampage. He tracked down all my workers. Custom facilitators, all of them. Savagely beating them. He broke bones, broke spirits, without due process, without standing or legal cause. All because of this twisted, delusional man, this vigilante.
This is a man who was doing heinous things on the regular, yet he truly believes he is the victim. It's well written and, as always, well executed by D'Onofrio. The troubled young man, Bastion, who Heather, Murdock's therapist girlfriend, took on as a patient, reveals himself to be Muse, thinking she was some type of kindred soul or something. And then Daredevil comes to her rescue. The fight that ensues between Daredevil and Muse is a bit underwhelming to me. There are scene changes early on in the fight that interrupt the flow. And when there are larger sections, there are a lot of edits. Now, these aren't the type of edits that are used to hide the lack of fight skill, like they did in, say, Iron Fist series, but they come very frequently, every few seconds. And that, combined with the fairly close-up camera work, makes it feel like they are fighting in a closet. I can see that the fight choreography is really good. I just wish they would let it breathe a little bit. Anyway, Daredevil's attempt to subdue Muse is cut short when Heather shoots Muse with his own gun. With episode 8, we come to the penultimate episode of the season. Now, from what I understand, episodes 2 through 7 were developed before this series was retooled. They were re-edited and some new scenes were shot to make them fit in the new creative team's vision, but they were mostly old guard episodes. But episodes 1, 8, and 9 are wholly done under the new creative team. In this episode, we continue to see parallels between Fisk and Murdock in their lives. Murdock finds himself defending Daredevil's actions to Heather, who is hell-bent on lumping all masked people into the same psych profile basket, heroes and serial killers alike. He's defending his actions without revealing himself to her. He also sees that Fisk is working his way into his personal life, but he can't reveal his full history with Fisk to her. Meanwhile, Fisk is all about the truth with Vanessa. He reveals to Vanessa that he's had her ex locked up in a cage, but hey, I didn't kill him. See how much of a changed man I am. He reveals so much about himself in this scene, how truly emotionally vulnerable he is when it comes to Vanessa.
I swear to God, I swear to God.
Shut up! I can't. I'm sorry. I hear his voice. I see his hands. It's unbearable.
In many ways, he's still a child, a powerful, angry, wounded child who thinks everything he wants should just be his. Knowing this to be the case, and being the ride or die she is, Vanessa kills her ex, Adam. While this is going on, Bullseye gets transferred to Gen Pop, where he is set up to be killed. Murdock has a revelation that Bullseye was likely hired to kill Foggy, and so he goes to question him in prison, and in a fit of violence knocks out one of his teeth, which allows Bullseye to escape.
Thank you, counselor.
Fuck! All right, let's get you back. The episode culminates with the mayor's inaugural gala, where Murdock confronts Vanessa with his knowledge that it was she that ordered the hit on Foggy. This revelation is the culmination of a subplot of the entire season. As I mentioned before, episodes 1, 8, and 9 were fully done by the second creative team on this show. Episode 1 is where this Vanessa assassination plot thread began. Episode 2 through 7 were mostly the original creative team, with additional scenes shot and retooled, which would be the Vanessa power struggle drama that has flowed through nearly every episode, telling the viewer episode after episode that Vanessa is a threat that we should not ignore. And so with episode 8, they tied that loose end up nicely, showing there was a method to what the creative team was doing. For a show that gave the impression that there was real creative issues behind the scenes, they seem to have put their heads together and pulled off something pretty good. Anyway, as Murdock confronts Vanessa, Bullseye shows up and takes a shot at Fisk. Murdock, sensing the shot just in time, leaps in front of the bullet to protect Fisk, and he is shot. Now, it's not like we're actually concerned about Murdock dying here. There's no tension in that aspect. This is about his willingness to even save the life of someone he hates, and the effect that this action will have on his relationship with Fisk. I don't have any real predictions as to what's going to happen in the next episode, which as far as I'm concerned is a good thing. But there are some seeds planted as to where things might go over the next season. Fisk's war against vigilantes will likely be escalated with characters like the swordsman getting imprisoned. I was kind of expecting Daredevil to get arrested by the end of this first season, but now I think that's less likely. Fisk's emotional vulnerability when it comes to Vanessa is going to become his undoing, in my prediction. It's a long-standing Kingpin lore for Vanessa to be killed. In Spider-Verse terms, it's a canon event. It will send Fisk over the edge. Maybe that will be the event to make him fully put the hammer down on costume heroes. Who knows? We're obviously going to get the Punisher, but whether or not that happens next episode, I don't know. Part of me thinks there's a good chance of that happening next episode. With Murdock shot, someone will have to bring the action for the season finale. As much as I like the characterization and general execution of this show, I think it's been lacking in the action department. And with Daredevil on the sidelines, someone's going to need to bring it for the finale. We'll find out in a few days. All right, people, that's it for me. Please let me know your thoughts on Daredevil in the comments. Where do you think the series is going? And what are you hoping for in the finale? And hey, there are a couple other series about to start that I'll be collectively chiming in on. Black Mirror dropped the other day. The Last of Us begins on Sunday. The new season of Doctor Who starts as I record this right now. And Andor Season 2 is in a couple weeks. That's a lot to talk about. So until then, take care, everybody. Peace.